This is Computer Science Discoveries, Lesson 15 in Unit number 3, as we are beginning to understand the code to build a video game. Lesson 15 is all about velocity, and level number 8 is where you are tasked to predict what is going to happen in the code. Okay, so you're learning about changing velocity. And this first paragraph talks about whether you have it outside of that draw loop or when you put it inside the draw loop, and specifically once you start using it with if statements. Okay, so at the end of 7, you had this robot flying up and down, or actually up is the way you wanted it to fly, and it just kept going even though the user only pressed that spacebar once, and it just kept going continuously. All right. So now what you are supposed to do on this level, look at the code below, specifically inside the if statements, check the position, or look at the statements that check the position and velocity, and then talk about what do you think is going to happen. Type your prediction in here. Once you type something in there, then you can hit run and see if your prediction's correct. Remember, once you type something, once you hit run, you can't go back and edit it. So take a moment to think about it and take a look at what is happening here and write your prediction in that box. Once you see it running, go back again and look at that code and make sure you understand what's happening. Then move on to level number 9. Here's what's happening in 9. Okay, you can change a sprite's velocity with a number of if statements. So let's take a look at this one. If I run it right now, I just see a fishy. Okay, what is happening here is that there are 3 different types of movement that we want to have happen, each of which should be controlled by its own if statement. So here's what your job is. Look at each of the 3 if statements inside the draw loop. Use a sprite.velocityX block inside each if statement to make the 3 following movements. Okay, the right arrow, if that's pressed, move the fish to the right. If the fish gets all the way to the right-hand side of the screen, make the fish move to the left. And then if the fish gets all the way to the left side of the screen, make it stop. So let's think about this and let's look at the code now. Okay, so we're starting out with the fish. Okay, this actually is if the fish's x position is less than 0. Well, let's start with the first thing, and that is if I press the right arrow key, I want this fish to swim to the right. So we're going to have to grab a velocity, put it right here, inside here. Of course, we're talking about the fish. And I want the right arrow key is going to make the fish move to the right. All right, so if I make that, say, a 2, let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to press the right arrow key, and let's see what happens. There it goes. Ta-da! Now, it looked like something happened there, but it just kept scrolling off the screen. Notice at this position, when I'm looking at my counter, once I get here, my X position is at 400. Let's look at this if statement. When I get greater than 400, they've set the animation so the fish all of a sudden faces left, but then my instructions were I want him to move the fish now to the left, move the other direction. So grab that velocity, fish. Okay, how do you make it move left? Now, before we could have either used that sprite.x property equals sprite.x minus, but since we're going to use velocity to make it a little cleaner, choose a negative number. That's going to take us backwards or in the other direction. So let's watch what's happening now. I press the right arrow key, fishy starts swimming, then bam, turns. Now he's swimming left. Now the third part, we want that fish to stop. I don't want him to keep going across the screen. All right. So that's where this other loop, if loop right here. Now my fish's X position did get less than 0, and I want the fish to stop. How do you suppose I am going to assign a velocity to make it stop? Well, if a positive number made it go move this way and a negative number made it go this way, ta-da! Let's see if this will work. I press the arrow, now I'm hands off. And this should just run on its own. Okay, it turned. When it gets to the edge, it should stop. Yes! And notice that it turned again. That was this fish right animation. You can see that when you go into the animation and see how they named it facing left, facing right, fish R, fish L. Clever. All right, when you get that one done, hit finish. Now, here, and whenever it's a diamond, it's giving you some instructions, either with a video or, oh my goodness, a whole lot of words. When I look at this, I'm getting pretty overwhelmed here, okay? It says velocity X and velocity Y, tell them how to move, okay? As I'm looking here, remember how we did all of this before when we had these three way back there in the early part of probably lesson 13, 14, somewhere in there. You had the hippo, the rabbit, and the pig. And then to make them both move in an X and Y direction, we used the X and Y properties. And we had to do some math there, adding. Move the rabbit only down, pig to the right, but the hippo was going diagonally, right? See, there's the hippo. Okay, rabbit's going down, pig's going to the right. That's diagonally. Now, what they're saying here is that this code can be created by doing this over here, and it's a lot more efficient. Notice I still have to initialize and assign my variables, hippo, rabbit, and pig. However, now if I use velocity, I don't have to put these commands inside the draw loop, just up here outside of the draw loop. Same thing with the rabbit, making the velocity y a 2 and the pig's velocity for the x direction a 2. And then inside the draw loop, I just have my background and the draw sprites. Awesome. Let's see what lies ahead when we get to 11, 12, and 13. Now, what they're doing is they're starting a game. It's pretty simplistic right now. I'm going to hit run so you can see what's going on. All right. You got a frog, you got a mushroom. And right now, we've got the blocks that we need to start making some jumping happen. Okay. Think vertical. The sprite should jump if it's on the ground and the user presses the up key, and then it should start moving back down when it reaches the top. So find the if statement, okay, that shows when the sprite's on the ground, and look at the if statement inside of it that checks whether the user has pressed the up arrow. Okay, so let's shrink this a little bit so we can see what's happening. Go here. Ta-da. Okay, so I'm scrolling. Here we go. My green draw loop. Okay, notice I don't have any velocity set out here because I don't want the frog to move until the user actually makes it move. So it says, oh, here we go. Here's an if loop that says, if I press up, I want the frog to move up. So what we're going to have to do is put in something there to make it move. And then it says make the frog stop moving otherwise. Okay. Add code that does the following. Checks whether the sprite has reached the highest point. That's going to be this 324. And if so, make it go back down. Okay. Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum. Let's see here. Make the frog jump up when it presses the arrow key. and stop moving otherwise. All right, well, let's see here. If I look here, key went down up, you're going to have to grab the velocity for y because that's going up. This was called frog. Set a velocity, so pick something. Okay. Not 0, 2. Okay. Make the frog stop moving. Okay. Otherwise. So then it seems like the velocity should be set here to 0. I'm just gonna, it seems to me there was something touchy about this one. We'll see. And then it also says here, now notice this is nested inside another if statement. When the frog gets way, or it says, let's see, when the frog is at 324 or larger, which is down at the bottom actually, and which means he's being set at 325, so this is already what's happening. So when it's down here, if the arrow key is pressed up, that frog is going to start to, is the frog going to move up? Oh, I better think about that. Then it says, if the frog gets high enough, send it back down. So, when it's reached its highest point, yep, that's when we've got to grab another if statement right here. If it gets high enough. So if, let's see, so then if it gets up to the top here, so maybe for math, if that y position gets less than, let's see, if the frog's y position is less than, I don't know, let's say maybe 50. Okay, if we go to 0, he's going to like pop off the screen a little bit. So if we say 50, then let's make his velocity come on back down. And I don't know, maybe we'll make that be a little faster because you're supposed to fall faster, right? Let's see what happens. All right, so if I press this up arrow, he should jump. All right, let's see. And then he comes back down. There we go. Now, the part that says that he should stop moving otherwise, that didn't happen right now. I'm going to tell you, don't worry about that condition right here. Okay, let's just go on to 12 and let's see what we can do here. All right, on 12, it says now we need the sprite to jump over something. And there's this mushroom that's on the right edge of the screen. Okay, but this mushroom needs to start moving toward the frog. So this will be a quick one. We've got all of this brought forward here with what we did before. Okay, and now at the bottom, it says right now, if the mushroom, well, first let's see here. Use velocity X to make the mushroom move left across the screen. All right. So that should just automatically keep happening, right? Move it to the right edge. But we just want the mushroom to move no matter what, okay? So it seems to me we could probably put that up here. Mushroom, that's an X. Okay. And it didn't necessarily say that the mushroom wouldn't move until, we just want it to move all the time, okay? Moving left. I don't know how fast we want that to go, but let's see. Okay, reset, run. Okay, is it moving? Yes, sirree, I'm gonna make, now this frog is kind of moving in slow motion, but that's okay. All right. Now, it says the mushroom should start moving at the very beginning and never change. So, should it be inside or outside? So, that's why we put it up here. Then, I think that's all we need to do at this point, right? Never need change, so it should be inside. All right. Here's the last part. The last part says this. Okay. The game will be more fun if the frog can jump more than once, and we can make the mushroom keep reappearing or looping by checking whether it's moved past the left edge and moving it back to the right edge when it has. In other words, here's what's happening. Okay. I'm not going to make him jump right now. But right now, this mushroom is moving. Okay. And once it goes off the edge of the left side of the screen, it just disappears and it doesn't come back. Well, that's kind of Dullsville. In addition, this is going a little slow for my liking. So we're going to make it go faster. And then down here, we need to, once it goes off the screen, we want it to reappear over here. And so, this edge, the very edge is 400. So what we could say is just say, I want the X position of the mushroom to be set at, all right, so it went off the screen, so I want it back at 400 maybe. Let's see what this looks like now. Now, I'm not making him jump. I'm just looking to see if this mushroom's going to cycle back. Awesome. And then I can make him jump. He certainly doesn't jump with a whole lot of oomph, but that's all right. Okay. Ooh, and then he's coming back down quickly. Play around with this level once you've got it set. I will check in with you on this one as well to make sure you've got it. And as always, happy coding.